Thank you very much for coming to the Green Elf presentation. Reduce it. So you can learn to focus your efforts on reducing what you generate, what you acquire. You can learn how to reuse the items that you have. And you can recycle, but that's way down the road. You might say, what do you mean? Recycling isn't vitally important? It is. But what I want to focus on is that it is the last step in a process. That's where the reduce it comes in. I am Tanya DeKona. I call myself the Green Elf because I use my little bucket and stick walking along from Takoma Park to Silver Spring like I was one day. And I saw a man throw a piece of trash down. I said, hey, would you mind putting that in the trash can? And he said, are you going to help me? And I said, well, I pick up trash and recycling all the time. He walked away. It was very disappointing. I was really bummed out. Oh, shoot. Oh, well, at least I feel good I said something. So I put my items down outside the bank. I went in, took care of business. And the line was snaking along slowly. And I felt this hand on my elbow. It was this man. He says to me, I'm sorry, next time I'll try to use the trash can. That is evidence to me that one person can make a big difference. Those actions can have repercussions down the road. So, let's look at the duck. All right, so your duck is giving you the 3 R's of reduce, reuse, recycle, but it doesn't always come in that order. That's why I made the adaptation from an old shower curtain and an old piece of stuff from a conference, foam board, to point out the order in which you might want to focus. Reducing first, which I'm going to explain because people are, well, reduce, I don't understand what reduce is. Right, because we're all over here. Then reusing, your duck keeps going, and then you get to the end of the duck. It's the end of the duck, and it's the end of the life of the item, and now you're recycling it. That's the hope. I want to focus your attention on a process and a way of thinking. If you use your house as the centerpiece, and think of that as where things end up. We're going to look at before you bring it into your home. Uh-oh, now I already have it. I got this huge pile of t-shirts and I don't know what the heck to do with them. And I'm hoping the audience is going to give me some problems to solve in this way. I don't know what to do with this thing. Because then you can decide you want to route it out in the community first for it to be reused rather than recycled. But recycling is also an option, just a last option. So I want you to feel free to ask me questions as we go. I clearly have a lot of props I want to share with you about the positive and the negative. I'll start with the fact that we are familiar with global warming. All of us know climate change is underway and already conflicts are occurring in other parts of the world. It's pretty distressing. Well, we have resources now. We are the lucky ones. Resources are abundant. It may not always be so if we're not wise about the way we use resources. So this has everything to do with taking action in your daily living, the changes and the actions that you do. We'll go into that in depth. So that the individuals who we leave behind still have resources. I like the definition of sustainability is keeping, oh, for Pete's sake. I love this because it was just such a nice definition. It's from Merriam-Webster. I like this. Sustainability, using a resource so that the resource is not depleted or permanently damaged. Because that's one of those cobwebs to clear up. People don't really understand what sustainability is. And since you're here, and what I'm wanting to do is get you to see the world through green-colored glasses, in this case. Sustainable glasses. Glasses you've had for millions of years. That's another reason they're sustainable. Anyway, I digress. You're going to look at the world through sort of a version of rose-colored glasses, but they're green, they're sustainable. You're thinking green. You're trying to have sustainability present in your choices. So as I say, using resources wisely is one of those vital points that we all must pay attention to. Now, I want to be sure each of you got a copy of the flyer, so I'm going to hand that out to you now because I want you to have an opportunity to look at this flyer, to keep this flyer. I'm sorry. Okay, excuse me. You're welcome. Steve, do you mind handing these back to them, please? Thank you. See that everybody has one, please. So I'm not going to read this to you because it's really boring when people just read. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to emphasize a couple of points and flesh them out. Reducing plastic, one of the best things you can do. Why should you care about reducing plastic, I wonder? Do you think this turtle has anything to do with it? I don't know if any of you have seen that horrible video of the turtle with the straw in its nostril. 8 minutes of excruciating horrible to watch a poor turtle go through. This is what you're working toward. I don't personally believe it's realistic to have no plastic. I think you can use it intelligently. What you might want to do is just not acquire plastic. That's true. The number one most important thing people can do is to not use single-use plastic bottles. That is the number one. Hey, where's my water, by the way? In any case, it's around here somewhere, and I'm going to talk about that. But seriously, I was at the grocery store, and a family was there. They said in 2 days, this entire case of single-use plastic bottles wrapped in plastic, like everything is wrong with this picture. Yeah, we're going to get into that. They said in 2 days, my children go through this entire collection. I said, you know there are other options. Do you know there are other options? I said, there are other options. What are you talking about? Well, I love it when I get a chance to educate my fellow consumers, not the least of which is to be able to tell them that, guess what? Bottled water isn't regulated at all. In contrast to water that you get out of your tap. Your tap water, under the EPA's regulations of the Environmental Protection Agency, federal law has the I want to try not to use the acronyms, Washington Suburban Sanitary Commission. They're the utility that handles our water. Every month they issue to you, the consumer, a report. It's called a quality care report, I believe. They issue this report to you every month. Why? So that you can see how much in the way of contamination is in your water. A consumer confidence report. WSSCwater.com/water quality. You can go there and you can see how polluted it is. Not very. Well, bottled water doesn't have this regulation. So sadly, people embrace something that is much less regulated, much more expensive, and terribly wasteful of plastic. So let's look at this on a continuum. I like to use this general concept when I'm teaching you this idea of thinking green, thinking in a sustainable way. You remember this from 9th grade algebra, one of these lines with the arrows on the end. So I like to think of it as, okay, the negative, and then remember you had 0 in the middle, and then you had the positive over here. This is a way of thinking about your process of getting better at thinking green, at thinking in a sustainable way. So the example of bottled water. Okay, so every day you're buying a single bottle of water, let's say. Oh, on your way to work, oh, I just want a cold one. I'm just going to grab one. Ugh, that's like the worst for the environment, the most negative. Then we're going to go to the measures, all the other steps you could take to move you in a more positive direction. Okay, you got a single use. Now you got like a little gallon container, right? Instead of buying a single use, you're buying like a whole gallon full. Okay, by its very nature, this thing is going to use less in the way of resources instead of each plastic bottle. Now you're moving up to what Safeway has, which is one of those big bottles that people use sometimes to gather donations, those huge bottles, big round things. And this lady says, I love this. I pick these up all the time. I deposit on the bottle itself, and then I fill it each time. Cheap. That obviously uses even fewer resources. Okay, we keep going. Now we come to a water bottle, a reusable water bottle. And you might say, well, wait a minute. Wouldn't a reusable water bottle be the best one of all? Well, if there's one thing I'm not going to ask you to do today, I'm not going to ask you to go out and buy anything. I'm going to ask you to not buy things. So I'm not going to say, yeah, go out and buy your reusable water bottle, which is ironic, right? It defeats the whole purpose. Unless, item number 7 on that list we're going to talk about, you are going to go to a secondhand store and buy your reusable water bottle. Okay, if you do that, yeah, you're moving up to the big plus. But also in between there is what Steve and I, my husband, what we do on a daily basis, which is take a collection of all our water bottles. We have a little picnic basket, so you don't even see them sitting there. Nobody even knows about it. All the little water bottles, and every evening we go ahead and fill up these water bottles and put them in the fridge. Same bottles, we just use them forever, over and over and over. So we always have a cold one. We don't need to go buy a single one on our way to work, and not a single coffee either, which we're getting to that. We have a source of water, cold water, all the time, fresh tap water. Those all get filled and put in the fridge overnight, which reduces the burden on your refrigerator, by the way. Keeps your refrigerator, it's less energy to cool water than it is to cool air. So you can see that the general way of thinking with the green colored glasses is, what can you do that can improve decrease your footprint and thereby help global warming, diminish its impact by consuming less resources. That is the number one best thing that we can all do. So many goods are already out there floating around secondhand stores, many other places, your neighbor. Everybody has resources, and we just trade them around. And you'll see on the end of that sheet that I put resources like Free Cycle, which is terrific. You can put in the search engine something, looking for flower pots, and maybe somebody's giving away flower pots now. Or you check it next week, you see again. So I want this to be part of your way of thinking. Oh, what would be, maybe this time, you know what, I kind of moved up. I'm sort of up here. I'm not buying this single thing every day. Instead, I'm like refilling, which to me is the supreme one, because I didn't buy anything. I mean, I did. Somebody like handed me an Honest Tea. I didn't need it, I didn't want it, and I could have said no to it. But my excuse for taking it was, okay, I'll try your product, and now I just fill it with water forever. So that is the single most important thing you can do, is not buy those single-use plastic bottles. Okay, second, the grocery bags that you use. Everybody is used to, it still kills me now, even with the bag fee, which was intended to get people to use fewer of these thin little bags. Years ago, when I was on a government trip, traveling across the country, the land was beautiful. I was in Indiana, it was spectacular, dark, rich land. And as I looked across the way, I noticed a chain link fence on the end. Well, chain link fence, guess what was attached to the chain link fence? A bunch of these lightweight bags that float all over the place. You see them stuck in trees way up there, you can't believe it. And at that time, the Chemical Council was bragging about plastics making it possible. And I said to myself, plastics do indeed make it possible. So, not these, right? Not these. Fewer of them. Okay, you're moving on your scale. You know what, I don't need a bag this time. Don't double bag it for me, just one bag will do. All these ways that when you speak up, like the example of the man at the bank, oh yes, I want to finish that story about another piece of it. So anyway, that's the same thing. You're using these alternatives that are less impactful on the earth. Now my favorite all-time, so the big plus bag is, of course, your cotton bag, which, yeah, everybody gets all upset about chicken that's going to leak in there. You know, your chicken, that's what washing machines are for. I'm a huge fan of a couple things: washing machines, scissors, and buckets. I'm going to talk about this. So this gradation of good, better, best. Okay, I believe when we were in Canada, we bought this other one, and this one's made from 100% recyclable materials. Then these, what I call kind of clothy bags, you know what I'm talking about? And even to tell you the truth, so this is where it gets to the reduce part, the middle step. Even when you get to the reduce part, that's part of, what thread am I on? Okay, so the cotton bag is the all-time best. Even these can be washed. Oh yeah, I was going to say that what you can do is, then when that finally starts to disintegrate, again, it's levels on a scale. You can throw it away, ultimately, if it doesn't say recyclable, because some of these do, actually. Some of them say they are fully recyclable. Whether this one is, I don't know. One bag at a time. Oh yeah, a number 5. Okay, we're going to talk about that, number 5. So this, wherever I got this, which is, of course, at a thrift shop, what did I do? I took it home and I hand washed it, like I hand wash everything. Wash everything, wash everything. And you know what's so exciting? It's so exciting because you can be working a couple hours at your little local thrift shop and someone took this crummy wallet. I threw this in the laundry machine. This thing is, I love this thing. It's ridiculous and it's so enjoyable. Every day when I go to my yoga class, I've got my wallet already packed. All it needed was a washing, so I put it to you. Worst case scenario, yes, don't put your beautiful wool antique oriental rug in the laundry machine, but just about everything else, try it. You got nothing to lose. If it's a used good and you're concerned about germs or issues, washing is a very environmentally sound technique. So your different reusable bags, and one of the things you want to do with your reusable bags is you want to have them everywhere. So whatever bag you came in tonight, let's say you two ladies, like the black and the white bag, say, okay, well, guess what you can do that's very nice and available to you? Each of those bags, and I really love my bags, I even name tag them because I love them so much and I want them back. Okay, so you take your little foldy bag and you're going to attach it to your handle, and then guess what? You've got a bag all the time. WAMU, I love public radio, NPR, yay. So I got my little pull-out bag. Again, it can be attached. You can use a safety pin, 101 ways. So what I'm saying is, have these bags everywhere. Oh, I forgot my bag. That is virtually impossible to do. It really, because you're leaving with something in your hand. It's the rare person, think about it in your own life. How often do you see a person walking to the metro with nothing in their hand? Not very often. It's really rare. Take a look at it. Take a look and see what you see. But because you're carrying a bag, all you do is put another bag in it, and you've got it to buy your things at CVS or whatever's along your route. You're ready to go. Okay, that's your bags. Avoid things that are individually wrapped. So this ties in a little bit to, you know, don't buy single chips. Like I thought maybe if any parents came that pack lunches for kids, that was what I wanted to kind of address. And what I wanted to suggest to them is that they buy the large bags and they use sturdy, because see these three, they sort of tie in. Using disposable sandwich bags, forget those, the drink bags, those Capri bags that you see, oh, those are so hard to recycle. Now, I believe Mom's Organic Market that does a terrific job of recycling, I believe they take those packs, but you have to have like a trunk full of them to make it worth their while. So I say, don't even manufacture those things. That being the case, the process of a virgin item precedes this reduce. So when you were thinking, I've got this aluminum can, and you know, I'm walking around somewhere, there's no recycling anywhere. Should I, you know, is this important? You know, I'll just throw it on the ground, just throw it in the trash. What difference does it make? Well, I'll tell you what difference it makes. It is a virgin material that is very energy consuming to pull out of the earth. Aluminum is made out of bauxite. It is a very polluting industry to pull bauxite out of the earth. So anytime a material is spanking new, you are talking about the cost to the earth. And that's where global warming really comes into play. You have the process of pulling out the raw material, then you need to transport that material somewhere, then it needs to be turned into the can and filled, and then it has to go to retail outlets all over the country. That's a lot of energy, versus recycling a can, the can made of aluminum cans from the past, 95% of the energy is saved by using it a can versus the energy it takes to pull that bauxite out of the earth and all of its related pollution. So you think, so I always encourage people, if you do nothing else, take your cans out with you, find a place where you can take your recycling. Always, cans are the number one, especially aluminum cans are number one. When you're making those lunches and you're making the potato chips I was talking about, you're going to want to buy the big old bag of them, not one of those Costco. Oh, apparently somebody told me Costco's a nightmare, and I'm scared to go in there, to tell you the truth, because I am afraid that I am going to be so unhappy with what I see, and then I'm going to have to make Costco know what I really think. They may not want that. We're going to talk about that one soon, because that's where we have a lot of power. Corporations, we're their customers. They want to please us. And when I went to the Trash Summit a couple years ago, which is all the professionals that work in the arena, in this field, this was one of the conversations, is organizations, corporations, some of them Pepsi and corporations, are trying to find packaging that works better for the consumer. Well, how about using packaging that already exists instead of coming up with things like popcorn? So now if you're talking about using popcorn as your packaging material, okay, theoretically you could eat that popcorn, it could be tasty. Depends, is it wrapped in several layers or is it loose being used to pad the glass, the vase, let's say. That's a new resource. You want to avoid that whole you want to avoid that whole virgin new thing. You want to skip that step. Instead, you would like the company to please use something that already exists. There's tons of newsprint, brown print, craft paper, something it's called the brown paper, tons of that. In fact, what I do is I take that paper over to my local animal shelter thrift shop, and they're thrilled because each stack of sheets that they buy is $15 every time they buy a series of sheets. They're trying to wrap the things at the store that are fragile. The customers don't like the newsprint because it gets on their hands. So I bring them this wonderful craft paper that people put on free cycle sometimes. You know, I got a big box of craft paper. Who wants it? I want it. So I put that in with my errands when I can make that happen. I like to do that. Okay, your travel mug. You're going to bring your travel mug. You're going to bring your bag of utensils. You're going to bring your cloth napkin. You're going to bring all those things with you, like I may or may not have done. In any case, it's here. It's a very many props that I want to share with you in sort of judiciously here. But in any case, I want to take a cereal box as an example here. This is where I put it. So your cereal box, it looks like just an ordinary cereal box, but we're actually looking at reuse here. So before you discard it, what can you do with it? And the answer is, well, you can take the cardboard, and we'll talk about that, but you also have this fantastic wax bag. And what I keep in my little wax bag is my little lunch kit. So these are all my reusable utensils, my cloth napkin, and I take these wherever I go, and then when they're dirty, I just pack them back in there, take them home, and put them in here. Likewise, these plastic bags have 101 uses for fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables that you're taking on the go. There was a government ad I saw years ago. I thought it was so cute. It was like carrots and apples, and they were all like running. And it said, the original fast food. And I thought, that's a great way to think about it. I like that. And so I do, in fact, that very thing. I keep a little collection of these bags in my little cabinet there. And I grab one when I'm going to just wash an apple, some carrots, some celery. I want some peppers in there. I roll it up, and then the stems, it becomes the trash bag when you're done with that too. It works on both ends. It keeps things very clean. You could put it in your bag that you carry, very easy to work with. Your box, now what I do with these boxes, sometimes I rip off the top because it's a reminder. I just put it on my grocery list thing. Tack it right up there. Oh yeah, I need another one of these. But I use the box in all the trash cans in my house. So every trash can has a milk carton or one of these cracker box, one of these boxes, and this becomes the recycling bin. What this does is it keeps all those little pieces of paper that you accumulate. First of all, there's a recycling bin and trash can in every room. Well, you're gonna go walk over and put something in the trash can anyway. You might as well put it in a recycling bin. So it's hidden in the trash can. You're gonna take these out on your recycling day or when it gets full, whatever you decide is your standard, And you're going to throw them in, that way all the flutter, it doesn't flutter all over the place. It keeps things in control. And you always have a recycle basket available to you. So as I told you, I was going to come up with some ideas for you to implement. So buying items based on packaging, all part of that green continuum of the, oh my God, I'm going to tell you this horrible story. This horrible story is about, I'm not going to name this company because I don't really want to advertise that their packaging is the worst. They're one of those meal kit companies. Okay, so they send the stuff to your home. I was looking at this online. It's a box, and inside the box, it's such a wasteful, such an offending, it has this liner. Okay, this is plastic and foil liner. Then every vegetable, fruit, or meat, whatever it is that they've sent to you, your chicken, I don't know what all is included, chicken, your green peppers, your mushrooms, da-da-da, each one is in a plastic bag, sealed plastic bag. Wow, that's a lot of packaging for one meal. Steve and I, we generate a little trash bag. I mean, we just generate nothing. And I'm going to tell you about managing your kitchen, managing your compost. I want to point out that scissors are your friend. I talked about buckets, I talked about scissors, and I want to tell you why scissors are your friends. And this again has to do with reducing. The reason scissors are your friends is because usually people, they just take the package and they just rip it open, right? That's why we have nothing in our trash, because we use all these bags before. They always get used several times, or one time, they get used again before they go in the trash. Trash is last. So I'm using my friendly scissors, I'm opening things, I can still seal it, I didn't rip it open, I didn't destroy it. Then these bags get used, we have cats at our house, and they get used to clean up the cat litter. So I made a little container. You can use a basket, you can use an old flower pot, your favorite flower pot that, damn, somebody got a big fat crack in it, you can't use it anymore. Oh, you're so bummed out. This is the perfect reuse. You can use it to hold these bags. You can also use it to hold rags. So all those old t-shirts that are in a pile somewhere, all those old t-shirts, watching TV, you're chopping them all up. I do not use paper towels. I don't have paper towels at my house. And the best thing is, because Takoma Park, has its composting program, it allows you to put these rags in the compost. They're just cloth, not polyester, but the ones that are made of cotton. All those nice t-shirts that just have perspiration stains, they just don't look very jazzy. You chop them up and you have these little rag bags or buckets. You put them in an old bucket that gets damaged. You know, it's leaking now, shoot, and then I put dry only on the bottom, and I use it in my kitchen cabinet and one in my bathroom cabinet so that I always have nice rags on hand. Then I wanted to continue with the cat litter piece to just spend a moment to say, sadly, this is a single-use item. Okay, those landscapers, oh, don't get me started. It's not good. The blowers, I'm telling you, okay. I won't hurt anybody. Police officer, I'm not going to hurt anybody though. Okay, so, but these are single-use bags as well. So what we did is we acquired these, because landscape companies leave them at the curb, right? And they're all full of more of these. This becomes our trash liner. So our outdoor trash can, we could use it indoor too. We just don't generate enough trash to justify a bag this big. But all the newspaper and all the stuff from cleaning the cat litter boxes goes out to that trash can outdoors. So by putting the cat litter in the little miniature bags, it keeps the odor in control. And then putting those miniature bags outdoors in the larger bag. I mean, I'm never going to have to buy a bag. I had to give away my Ziploc bags or whatever I had at the time. I had to give it to the food bank because I'm never going to use these. I've got fabulous wax bags, and they really virtually work every time. I can't justify owning these things. So this is something that you can do. So what I want to do is, you have a piece of paper. If you don't have one, I'm going to hand it to you. And I want to do a little exercise where you look at your own purchases. So if you wouldn't mind taking a piece of paper off of each of these, or actually, you know what, you want to hand these back to those two ladies for me, please? And or the guys back there if they want to participate there. Okay, so what I want you to do with this piece of paper is write down what you have purchased in the last, let's say, week. So this is an exercise for you to look at, how could I be greener? How could I reduce? So take a look at what you've done in that last week. What new purchases have you made what new things did you buy? What virgin materials did you buy? That's what I'm shooting for. Just make a little list of the things that you can remember for a few minutes. So you might have ordered some things online. Maybe you walked into stores and bought a few things. You tell me. So maybe you've bought a lot of things, or maybe you've bought hardly anything. This is an exercise intended to have you become aware of how much ordering you're doing, how many new things you're bringing into your home, per that chart I was showing you. What's making it into your house and why? And by the way, I just want a note to everybody here. I am looking forward to you giving me your challenges of the things that you wish you could find a home for. You're not giving it away. It's taken over the left side of the living room, but you'd like to find a home for it. I love the Green Elf Challenge, I call it. Anyway, back to where we are. So we're looking at reducing. Okay, now I want you to go to that list that is hopefully like things, jewelry, clothing, shoes, tools, all of these objects that may be less so food, but it can be foods too. And I want you to put A, B, and C next to this. So that means you're going to have a system where you indicate the importance. A is this is a really important item. B, it's pretty important. And C, you know what? It is kind of peripheral. It's really not that important. So put an A, B, and C next to each of your items. And this exercise is intended to help you discover, maybe I could have shaved something off there. It'll take a minute to do that. Okay. Did I give you enough time? Well, you're taking this so seriously. I'm really appreciating that. That's fabulous. That means you really, really care about this issue. That's good to see. So this is intended to have you take a look at what is the degree to which this is important to me. Now, some of your reducing practices, your green colored glasses, your sustainable approach, might be to buy something less often. So maybe it's about the time element. If you're going to Starbucks and you're buying that coffee every morning, my mom used to figure this out, like this is $6 every day. And think about that. And you know what, the rent's not showing up, it's going into Starbucks. That could go better. So what if you do it, you don't have to deny yourself things you enjoy, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to maybe do it less often. Just reducing the number of times that you do it, the frequency, that is sometimes adequate for doing the job. I mean, you're reducing. As I say, it's a process over time. It's that continuum of things happening over time. It isn't, oh, you're gonna go tomorrow and all of a sudden you're gonna be snapping, you're gonna get rid of all your individual packages of chips that you have, and instead you're going to think, oh yeah, I'm only gonna buy one large bag of chips. I mean, that'd be great. Hopefully you will do that. You see that at potlucks, and actually season's coming up when people just take a big bag of chips and put one of those salad tongs in there, and you serve yourself some. Does everybody have to have their individual bag? And guess what? They do this. They hand this out at Montgomery College. This is so unfortunate. And all it is, when I look at that trash on my way out, is that is just a huge pile of single-serving items. So avoiding those single-serving items. That means when your Chinese restaurant stuffing the soy sauce in there, and the restaurant is putting in a set of utensils that you don't need because you got a million of them, or you've got your reusable set, you don't need them. You can tell them, and they're actually very good about that because they like to save the money. You're saving them money. I used to have organizations when we would leave containers from a Chinese restaurant. I remember one of the waiters said, that is so fabulous that you bring your own leftover containers to the Chinese restaurant. I love this. And I remember them saying thank you to us. And then it occurred to me, right, because those are resources they're not having to put out. It's good for everybody. It's good for everybody, reducing. But it's things on a scale. This is where the corporation piece comes in. I was going to mention how you can have an incredible impact by making a phone call to Oikos to say, what's with those plastic lids on your yogurt? Especially when, I just did that, especially when some of them are made of metal. So they know how to make them out of metal, but the lids are in fact made out of plastic. Why? Okay, now that's not an egregious problem. That's nothing like the meal kit, which was just nothing but packages, right? I mean, that was a really awful example. Nevertheless, as I say, corporations are hustling to try to come up with packaging that consumers can live with. There's nothing wrong with looking on the package of whatever this item is and calling that customer service line and telling them, you know, this really is very wasteful. I do not want this wasteful packaging. Can you put it in something that is, you know, smaller box? And then, well, actually, I don't want to name a brand again because it's like I'm promoting it. But there's a company out there that is, in fact, trying to use, instead of putting the tea I ordered, so I called Bigelow Tea and I said, those tea bag containers, you know those little individual wraps, they're made of foil? Okay, like those are awful. And I love tea. I'm a major tea drinker. Now what do? So I call up Bigelow, you know, do you have some alternative? And they said, in fact, we can give you the constant comment in a tin, loose tea, which I'm fine with. Loose tea has no packaging. So on that continuum, you know, loose tea, you clearly have much less packaging. Each of the individual tea bags, some of those are really bad. The tea bag is made out of like a plastic mesh. And who needs that? It's not even made out of paper, which can go into the Takoma Park compost bin, which I love. That being the case, the items that you can, oh yeah, okay, wait, I want to wait on that. Okay, so you can make those decisions. You're giving feedback to them. You're their customer. You're who they want to please. And I like to let them know, I want you to use already existing materials. I want you to take it back in the perfect world. I'd love it if companies were responsible for taking back their materials. Okay, but when it's a package inside of a package inside of a package, this is about that scale of doing better, moving toward choosing items in your next grocery. Stop. The next time you go, looking at the packaging, you know, do I really need something that's got this double and triple packaging or has that really heavy packaging? So this is like a car, this really heavy plastic. This is like some kind of a flap to a car. I got news for you. This is a foot pedal. If some other human hand has touched this foot pedal, I don't care. I'm still going to install it. Did I need it to come in this heavy, nasty, not recyclable packaging? Like hunting for a number. This was not something I purchased, but I acquired it and I was looking, is this recyclable in any way? This is where you have to be really innovative. You have to perhaps use it in some other way. And I have many suggestions in that department. The reuse department is big. But I wanted to show you this really offending packaging. Speaking of that, these Tetra Paks, not good, not good. These things are horrible, all the labels. It's like, I remember my friend saying to me, you know, I invented the Tetra Pak, you know, like he invented the internet. But anyway, I invented the Tetra Pak, and oh, it's such a great innovation. You mean because it's got foil and plastic? It's really labor intensive to separate all these materials. It's not, I know people want almond milk. Just buy it less. Maybe sometimes it's almond milk, sometimes it's something that comes in a better kind of packaging. Maybe the next time around, it's just something that's in a standard, and this is one of those boxes I use in my trash can to collect recycling papers, because this goes with paper in the city of Takoma Park, goes with paper. But cups that you get from a coffee shop, they have a plastic lining. They are not recyclable. I might want to go to meetings, and people always have these Solo cups. I write to Solo, and I said, you know what, these things are real offenders. They never wrote me back. And yeah, that's right. So ironically, and this is what I want actually you to handle these and look at these. So Kirkland, which I do believe is a Costco brand. Yeah. Okay, so Kirkland, what are you doing? Okay, this is a number 6, the one number that cannot be recycled. So what if when you hold your party, A, you would use real glasses. This is what my friend used to do at the potluck. She'd use the real glasses for my kitchen. What a concept. Okay, or at least don't buy the really offending ones. You have this is a number 5, and in Takoma Park, 5 is recycled, but I want you to kind of crunch and feel. So this one's a no. This greenware, we're going to talk about that in a second. These solo cups are horrible. And there are always alternatives. It's amazing how many different versions of cups are out there. And some companies have done fairly well on this. Like, okay, McDonald's does well. McDonald's, number 5 is a yes. And number 1 is desirable. So the most desirable are 1s and 2s. Most desirable 1s and 2s. This is a 1. This is from Panera. It's an old one from Panera. I don't know if Panera is still doing it, but I'll tell you honestly, when I'm thinking about my green color and I'm thinking, how can I get better? And I go to the Panera to have a drink, I ask for my Pepsi in a mug. Are mugs prohibited from having sodas in them? You can't have a soda in a mug. Well, yeah, you can. So it being able to be washed instead of having to be discarded, because how many of those people say, oh, I'm going to be sure to take my cup from the Panera, I'm going to take it home with me and I'm going to reuse it, I'm going to wash it and reuse it. I told you, wash everything in sight. Scissors, washing, 2 great things to take on. Do it. So when we looked at these sturdy containers that you're going to want to do when you're packing your lunch, I'm talking about little things like these little Ziplocs. This is a number 5. Montgomery County, they do recycle number 5, so the 6 is the only prohibited one. 6 has its good and its bad points, but suffice it to say,
is okay in the county?
it is. So number 5 in Takoma Park.
Oh, that's what I was
You know what? Don't quote me on this because I'm not absolutely sure about that piece, and that's why it requires. This is just it. When you get down to the finer points of the grass, wait a minute, and like we send our stuff to PG, but their stuff goes to the transfer station, Montgomery County, and Silver Spring. Their stuff goes up, ours goes east and south. So, yeah. So I'm just saying, when you buy packaging, whether it's an object like the car thing or it's a food, you might want to take into consideration as you move along the scale to being more sustainable. You might want to consider, oh, this is a number 5. Okay, so when push comes to shove, it's going to be able to be recycled, which isn't anytime soon. It's going to be used 1,000,000 times first. So can I answer for you?
Yeah, so I've been seeing online and stuff, the different ones that instead of the container, they now have covers that are reusable. Like, they're advertising like silicone or something that instead of, I'm looking into grocery bags that you can put, like when you're buying lettuce or something that that you can take them and wash. And then other ones, instead of, like if you cook something, instead of putting foil on it or plastic on it, there's reusable ones. But I don't know if you have a recommendation on different brands on them. That's
correct. Okay, so there is, I don't know what this company is, Nani. It's like a chicken place or something. They have like a little lid. They used to do this in like the 60s and stuff. You would have your bowl and the item would fit over the bowl, right? It's just an elastic bag. It's like a shower cap. It's a shower cap for containers, right? Okay, so you're right. You want to veer away from using plastic film. You instead want to use sturdier containers. This is the little compost trick that I'm going to tell you about in a minute. And this is a number 5, which, yeah, you're right. We can in Takoma Park recycle, but I think 5s are recyclable in the county. 6 is the only one that's the problem area. So this is what I suggest for trying to green your composting, your refrigerator. So in the door of your fridge, easy place, you want it to be, easy to get to. So in the door, you put your compost, you pile it up in here. Our trash we don't have any smelly trash. We don't need Glad bags. We don't need scented Glad bags. We don't need any of that nonsense. I'm not going to buy any of those new products. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bin from my neighbor's dishwashing thing, fill it with all the compost, and then I'm going to go outside my porch and pour it in my compost bin, and then I'm going to wash it or rinse it. Depends on how dirty it is. I also have a second one of these next to it, and that one is used for putting things like meat packaging, like stuff that's gotten juicy, and you unwrap some chicken legs and you put that plastic in there. The styrofoam, call me crazy because the green elf wants to reuse everything, but I find the styrofoam trays incredibly useful for a lot of things. I don't specifically seek out trays, but if it's like, oh, we're having friends over and we want to do a barbecue or something, and I know some of them are going to want chicken legs, at least I can justify buying it because the styrofoam has 101 uses. So we could talk about that in more detail. By the way, just an aside for the moment, I want to mention that I am happy to come to your office or your home and do an eco audit, and I do it through the time bank, Silver Spring Time Bank, which is just like a regular bank. You accumulate time, and you show me a skill, but then I show her a skill. He asks him to do something for him, she asks you. It's not a one-for-one that you and I have to be able to exchange skills, the two of us. So you work down that bank, and you have a person do some wonderful electrical work for me. It's terrific. It's like now in the wintertime, I'm going to be able to see now. Wow, this is so great. That was done just off the time bank. There was no money exchanged. So that's the way I like to provide my services. So it's on paper, everybody's getting credit for things. It's a good situation all around. I was talking about how you're choosing packaging based on packaging and how you have to write to corporations to keep them on the straight and narrow. So buying a light bulb in something that you can smash and that disintegrates is pretty good. Paper works pretty well. Boy, it sounds like I've got something there. Anyway, I don't believe so. And then likewise, you got your cat litter. Well, what's with these? Who needs this? Nobody needs these. So this is the next company getting a phone call from me soon, even though this isn't the brand that I use. I use feline pine. Why do I use feline pine? Because years ago they said, guess what? This is stuff that is made from extra pine, from things being made of pine. You make pine furniture, you've got this leftover sawdust, basically. So the actual story is, I'm in the house, my sister's coming, I don't know when she's showing up exactly. Did I get the litter box cleaned in time? No, I didn't. What to do? My sister walks in and she says, it smells like pine in here. Okay, when people walk in your house and your litter box is dirty and they think it's great, you are on to something. Been a feline pine believer ever since. In fact, I contacted the company and said, I'm going to be a spokesperson for you because this really happened. I'm not an actor. It really happened. But as for the scoopable stuff, which is like a clay made of different substrates, again, company, your customer service line, I'm going to have to call you at 800-645-3741. Yes, I'm going to call this company Cat's Pride and say, is there really a reason why you need this label? Couldn't you just print a little something on the box itself? So, you have a great impact. Boy, corporations, they really want to hear it. It's interesting, you can do it online too, and you can see all the comments that people have submitted. Some people good news, some people not such good news. All right, likewise, a good packaging. Why good packaging? Good packaging because it's gum that isn't individually wrapped. Not every single piece of gum, it's a whole bunch of gums in a little container that's in a number 1 recyclable peat. Okay, these guys, companies, no. The reason why no is because number 1 and 2 plastics are the most easy to recycle and to turn into other things. Okay, number 1 plastics, number 2s can be turned into carpet fiber. They can be turned into clothing, many uses. Not this. So this company, they can talk till they're blue in the face. Yeah, we're using this Air Plus stuff. And there's your customer service number for me to call. Isn't that convenient? To tell them, no, don't need these. So I'd like it if companies, when I get something mailed to me, Bigelow mails that tea to me, and I was like, I wonder what kind of packaging it's going to come in. Oh no, I'm going to have to call them back and read them the Riot Act. And sure enough, it was just in like a little light paper, small box. I ordered 2 at once because in for a dime, in for a dollar, that was going to be the cost savings and the environmental savings. Just have 2 of them shipped. Put 1 in the freezer, now I'm on the second one. I'm already there. I've used it all up. But to tell companies, please don't use this kind of stuff for packing. No. All right. I think I've covered quite a bit of ground here. Oh, I want to teach you guys a little technique. I want to teach you a technique for, and I'm going to just come on over here. So we're talking about the little bags. You said, I want to answer your question, then I'll go on. But what I do with my produce bags is I went to a yard sale, and this woman had these little mesh bags, and I thought that was just great. So I bought like a little set of 3 for $1. Okay, I'm not generating new stuff, even though it was a new product, but I wasn't buying it retail, so it wasn't made for me because I bought it. It already existed, and then what I did is I put those in here. I keep one of these little onion, everybody has these onion orange bags. Everybody has one of these somewhere. And I use this to accumulate all my produce bags. So I go to the grocery store, and I pop it in there. I take everything with me. I come back, everything's full, and I empty out the bag, get that back to the car. That's on its way out the door. And then this little net thing is sitting in there accumulating the bags and taking the onions or whatever I didn't want people's hands on if I care so much. Things are going to be boiled, who cares, you're going to kill the germs. But anyway, that's what I do about accumulating. So this becomes the circulation of, and you're going to always wash the fruits and vegetables anyway before you use them. So why not just use the same bags repeatedly? Is there any reason to generate new ones? The answer is no. So that's what I do about that. I wanted to show you a technique for keeping your, one of the techniques I do to reduce, and that is, so this is my whole lettuce bag. I just take a grease pencil, which is another very useful tool. As you see, I used my scissors to neatly cut it instead of ripping it and wasting it and throwing it in the trash so that I could reuse it. So this is my whole lettuce. So guess what? When I go in the fridge, I know what's in there. I don't have to, it's wrapped in a cloth. It's wrapped in a cloth. And each day, I take my lettuce out. Oh, okay, thanks. Each day, yeah, this is an old t-shirt. So each day I take out my lettuce, peel off some of the leaves, yum yum, munch down on a good salad, and every one of my pieces of produce gets wrapped in another cloth and put in its respective bag. The parsley bag, the green pepper bag, everything gets packed that way. Even when I put away a green pepper that I've split in half, right? I only need half of it, and they tell you to wash your vegetables just before you're going to use them, not in advance of that. So what I do is I just put the green pepper on this little cloth. I mean, we never have food waste in our house. And food waste is 1/3 of what shows up at your landfill. So that could be way cut back. So I know they're talking about trying to think about compost in Montgomery County as a whole, which is exciting. So I just put that red pepper and I put it in that reusable like blue top, and it sits in that container, but it absorbs the moisture and it keeps it from going bad. And then I circulate that every day or every second day. Hang that up on the little line, let that dry out. I don't bother to wash all of them. What's the point? Wash it for what? You're washing it before you're using it. You don't even need that. So that has been a technique passed on from my grandmother. I'm so happy to have learned it because it's a way of reducing the food waste, and I very much like to be a part of that. Okay, who has questions for me? Oh, and then I want to kind of talk a little bit. I want to sort of see what showed up on the lists. Did you guys find out that there were some things that you have on that list that, yeah, there were a couple of C's on there? Did anybody have any C's on there? And I'm not going to ask you to say what they were, but were there a couple of C's in there? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so there's some room for moving along that scale of, you know, maybe I'm moving up to be a little bit better because I'm not buying it as often, or I didn't really need one of those, or I ordered a whole bunch of them so I can justify the expense of shipping it and packaging it and all that. So that's what that exercise was intended to do. Yes?
So you mentioned Costco. I find, you know, like because I had an injury, I had a friend who was going to Costco, a neighbor, and she said, well, can I get you at Costco? So normally we get paper products at Costco.
Okay.
We get toilet paper, we get paper
Right.
towels. So, I mean, hard to cut down on the use of toilet paper, but this exercise is definitely reminding me that we use a lot more paper towels than we should. You know, like we use paper towels a lot, but I think part of it is sort of the convenience of it when you buy it in, you know, these, you know, 12 or 18 pack or whatever, 24 pack even sometimes, you know, that you're not inclined to conserve the resource particularly, right? Because it's like you have a huge thing of them, you know.
Absolutely.
And I have, on rare occasion, I'll just admit this, you know, I have been like at the co-op or at Whole Foods or something, where they'll have like, you know, a recycled paper towels or something, you know, one or two in a thing, and I hesitate to buy that. I think, oh, it's expensive and, you know, whatever, but then it's true if you buy it that way, it's like it somehow seems more like a precious resource. I don't know. You know.
I would love to know the psychology behind that, because it completely makes sense. If you have such a large amount of something, yeah, why not just be a hamster on a wheel? Yeah, just keep going. Why slow down?
Yeah.
So you're right, it does put you, if you're having to pay the price in that case, literally, because you're buying the brown paper towels, 7th generation probably,
Right.
at the food co-op,
Yeah.
and now since you're buying those paper towels, you're going to be a little more judicious with the way that you use it. Yeah. And depending on what you're using it for. So one of the most fabulous things about cotton rags, old t-shirts being chopped up, one of the greatest things about them is, I think I mentioned it earlier, that it can go into the compost. If it's something you're like cleaning out a greasy pan, right? Don't send your grease down the drain, right? Pour it off in a can, put it in the freezer. But you can wipe out that pan and the greasy thing can go in the compost. It does not have to go to landfill. And it's in your little bin, right? It's in your bin in the car. It's gonna go in the compost with everything else. So it's almost, I would encourage you to buy the expensive paper towels if it is going to have that effect on you.
Yeah.
That's very desirable, and you're supporting a good cause. It's kind of like organic produce. I don't buy organic produce to keep my temple body. I want to keep my temple healthy. That's okay. That's good. But I like that it's not polluting the earth. That is what, for me, is the more important goal. I like knowing that in Mexico, they're gathering or they're producing not oriental peppers, sorry. In Mexico, they're doing organic farming. I love that Mexicans are being introduced to this idea of not using pesticides. That is so fabulous. So that's what's so positive to me, is I get to, that's the perfect world of not polluting the earth, and that for me is the larger goal. But you have to decide where you are on that continuum. I mean, I'm way out here, but if you say I'm moving, or I got to think about buying those paper towels, it's going to make me more thoughtful. The other thing is you can extend resources. So for example, okay, so I spend a little time working at a thrift shop. Working at that thrift shop, people, they donate things, they throw them all over the place, things get damaged, paper bags get damaged. Those paper bags are a fantastic resource. And part of this green thinking is thinking in terms of, can this item be used again in some way? So that is exactly what happens, is those paper bags come home, I chop them up, and then I use that with a clean rag on top of it, and then if I make like a hamburger or something, if I have that meat source, it absorbs, the rag is absorbing the grease initially, but the paper layers, and that whole collection is absorbing all the grease, and that whole collection goes in the compost. I don't have to use 16 paper towels. Yeah, it always bothers me when I see people, like, first thing they do is they're grabbing for, but like, it's not like they never came prepared, like the Speakers Club, it's like that never occurred to them. Guess what? We use napkins and we eat every time we meet. What if you were to actually, and so I've got my club pretty green these days, which is I'm bringing the plates, I'm taking them home. It's no big deal to me. I wash a little collection of dishes, so what? It's nothing to me. The savings are so much better. But anyway, you looked like you were going to say something else. What else did you want to add? Do you have something else with that?
No, but what you just said reminded me
of
which is that I know 2 people that have done this, and it's really, really fantastic. But I'll give my neighbors as an example. So her daughter was getting married. She bought enough reusable plates and utensils and whatever, that so that now anytime at our block party or people in the neighborhood all know that she has enough for,
Is this Tina Slater?
What?
Is this Tina Slater? Oh, because she does that.
And it's like, I was amazed. So we were getting ready for the block, for this music party, and she said, nobody needs to go to Costco. I have enough, utensils and plates. and glasses. And we're
fantastic.
like, what? No, you don't, because we usually get 100+ people at this music thing. And she said, oh yeah, I do. You know, I bought them, and then she farmed them out.
Isn't that so nice?
Yeah.
I know on our email list in our neighborhood, somebody made a call out for, you know, hey, does anybody have real metal utensils? I don't want to use plastic disposables. I want to use actual silverware. And I said, that's fantastic. Exactly, along that same line. Oh yeah, why not? I mean, I don't mind dishwasher. Do you all use a dishwasher or hand wash your dishes? You hand dishwasher? Both. Okay, dishwasher. I know these guys.
Dishwasher.
What kind of
Dishwasher.
Is it environmentally? Is it better to hand wash?
My friend, we were having this huge debate about
Yeah,
this.
because I've heard people debate this.
So everything has to do with how you do it, right? It's always the method of how you do it, of where you're on the scale, how careful you are with the resource. Are you using it wisely? So using that resource wisely in that case would be, well, for us, okay, I said the bucket is the other secret ingredient to making life better in the reduction world, because we keep buckets, several buckets, and anytime we're running the water to do our dishwashing, we are running up all that lead-filled, whatever it has in it, we're not worrying about it all, because that becomes our rinse water for the dishes. So it depends on how devoted you want to be to the task. Or you can take an old pitcher, you know, like pitcher, we lost the lid, what are we going to do with this pitcher? And I can think of 18 things. That would be one of them. So that would be one of them, is you can, in fact, use that to just be your rinse. I mean, there's really a whole technique to it. I thought at one point, maybe I should make a video of showing how I do dishes, because being able to explain it, I know, because explaining it to people doesn't do it justice, but that's why you know, coming to your home and seeing how do you do it. Oh, here's how you could. You should see our water bill. It's ridiculous. We don't use any. I wanted to actually bring the bill, but it's like, that's so silly. But really, we use so little water. It's like, here's the average consumer. Here's you, 3 of us. What? We just, because we save our water and we reuse it in so many ways. We use it to water the flowers. We use it to flush the toilet. My friend had never heard of that technique of like using it to flush a toilet. What? And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're like a middle-class white person. Of course you must have heard of this. Are you nuts? And she was like, no, I've never heard of this technique. So I was like, this is awesome. And so it's just the force of the water. And our bill, and the bathroom is clean. I mean, there's no odor, there's nothing. So it's how you manage it. And so part of one of the tricks that I do is when I have just eaten something for dinner, like I had some spaghetti for dinner and had some garlic and stuff in there, I just put that in the sink. Then when I'm gonna wash the potato, whatever I'm eating next, I'm gonna wash some vegetables, I wash it over that thing. That way the water's being used twice. Okay, so it's soaking the dish that's dirty, and I'm washing the vegetable. Well, who cares if it's got some dirt in it? Who cares, right? So this is a way that I have really economy of motion, and I know there's an actual industrial efficiency category. There's an actual body of knowledge that a man and woman, they're very big in this topic, but it's about efficiency of movement, the way you use the resource. So I love it when I get an opportunity to do that. I want to talk to you about the recycled toilet paper. You're like, wait a minute, you can never not use a lot of toilet paper. Okay, what can a person trying to get more sustainable do about toilet paper? And the answer is, A, you can buy it in bulk. I literally did a price comparison with this. This company is fantastic. So this is all made from recycled paper, and I buy it in bulk. Paper from paper, not from trees. You've seen that on these packages. And then guess what this is? Again, it's a single-use trash bag. So it's always going to take some of my trash before it gets thrown away. I have, in this case, saved it as a prop. But this company, because they're not taking down any new trees, they're making it from paper that already exists. That's why I like this. So that's where you can become more sustainable in your choices, is by picking a paper that is already. This is available at ShopRite on Cherry Hill Road, near the PetSmart, where I go to volunteer with the animals, the cats there, and that's a whole nother chapter. Anyway, I get to buy these nice, big, fat paper from paper. This is excellent. This company, I discovered it years ago, and have been using them ever since. So everything can be greened. Long version short, there isn't any process that can't be made more sustainable. But anyway, I'd love it if you'd give me a challenge and tell me, oh yeah, how am I going to use it when it gets broken? Yeah, go ahead, bring it on. Because I love this challenge. I love having to stretch my mind and figure out a way to make something work. Is there anything you can think of that is at your home that is presenting a problem? Like, I'd really like to get rid of this thing, but I don't really want to send it to the landfill. I really don't want to, discard it completely. I'd like it to be used by someone.
So we don't get this anymore.
Right.
But we used to get deliveries of wine bottles, and at that time, now they use cardboard, so that's good. But it used to be styrofoam, so we have these big blocks of styrofoam in our basement because I don't know what to do with them. So they're just
hanging around. So what's the configuration? Are they like an 8-pack of wine bottles?
They hold 3, so they're indented,
3.
right? So one bottle would go this way.
Oh, they're on their sides.
Square,
So that's a good challenge because styrofoam, businesses in Takoma Park cannot issue styrofoam, cannot issue straws.
Right, and I don't even know where to send it to recycle. I don't know what to do with it. That's why I have it in my basement.
Yeah.
Well, that's worth putting. Okay, so you know what I did with some styrofoam that I found under my kitchen sink? Cold air would blow in. You'd go to do the dishes and get your detergent out of the bottom, and it's like a little freezer storm, opening up. So what I did was I took these were flat pieces in this case, and I put them against the wall so that there was a barrier. And I've done that with several pieces of nice flat styrofoam. It is great for insulating windows and walls if you have a room that is not well insulated in your workshop somewhere in your house. Now those pieces, depending on what they look like, see, being a visual learner, I often look at something and then the shape of it sort of says to me, oh, this would be good for holding blank. And that's how the process evolves. What I think of immediately, though, depending on your environment, is I would use it as a booster. So when people used to have speakers with a stereo system, you put it underneath the speaker, cover it with a cloth of some kind, and you wouldn't even notice it. Cloth color that just blends in with what you have there anyway. It's a brown cabinet, just put a piece of black or brown cloth on top of it. It hides that styrofoam, and what it does is it literally raises the sound so that the stereo, you can hear the music better. It's an odd thing, but they literally say when you put a speaker down flat, nothing like when you raise it up, because the sound waves can move out and away. So I would use it as a booster of some kind, but it would be interesting to see a picture of it and come up with an idea for how to use it. How many of those do you think you have?
Probably 20.
Oh, a lot of them. Okay, another thing I do with styrofoam is give them to the people who take care of community cats, and they use styrofoam to make shelters for the cats in the winter. I can't tell you how many styrofoam containers I've collected from Free Cycle. Hey, I got 10 of these, I don't know what to do with them. And I'm like, hey, I've got this friend who I know takes care of a community of neutered animals, but they still need shelter in the winter. And so like the styrofoam is the inner part, and then there's a bin on the outer part. They put hay in it, and it provides a shelter for them in the winter. So I wouldn't be too surprised if that configuration would work in that case.
And it's a specific place called Community Cats?
No, it's not a specific place.
Okay.
I could talk to you about that afterwards. I'd be happy to tell you more about how to do that. Okay, any other problem that people are thinking about, any other questions or issues, or like, what does she mean by that clarification?
Well, did you say that in terms of the dishwasher versus washing dishes by hand, that it's like, I mean, I don't know if I could get, that whether I and the other members of my household would switch from using the dishwasher to doing dishes by hand, but if there was some like
incentive to do so?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
So how you manage, if you were to say, you know what, saving, it depends, because if you say, I don't care the amount of water I use, because we're so lucky, right? We're so lucky.
Right, yeah.
We've got nothing but an abundance of resources.
Right.
So what we have is a whole stash of paper towels in our world, and because there's so many of them, we just want to keep using them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Versus being very deliberate and intentional about what you're doing. So if it were, hey, maybe we use the dishwasher one less day a week. I mean, how big a group is it? Is it 6 people?
3 of us.
Oh, totally doable. Yeah. So totally doable. So I actually have never really understood dishwashers in a way, because it struck me as if I'm going to wash it in hot water to like clean off the debris so that the dishwasher can do its job. If I've already washed it, if I've already gone to the trouble, why am I washing it again? So I get, it's like if you're sterilizing things, I get for the sterilization purpose, but you know, exposure to germs is important. You don't have to go around and put your hands all over everything, but on the other hand, it's good to have some exposure in hot, soapy water and friction. Hey, quick little quiz. When you wash your hands, which is the most important factor to hand washing? Is it the soap? Is it the friction? Is it the hot water? What do you think is the most important one? Because I'm a health professional, so I have to know the answer to this.
I thought it might be time. How long you wash your hands?
Oh, that happy birthday song thing they say to do, happy birthday, yeah. It's friction. It's not soap. It's not the hot water. Yeah, it's that you are applying friction to, I mean, there's a whole routine to the way you do hand washing. That was one of my speeches, right? The nails, right? You're supposed to do the thumb, because the thumb always gets left out. You know, fortunately, cats and other animals don't have to worry about the thumb. Yeah, so I know, it's so surprising. Right. Oh, I got something in my eye. But anyway, so the dishwashing thing, okay, what if in your world, in your home, one day a week you didn't use the dishwasher? What if you tried just dropping it out here and there? Because dishwashers are, I mean, unless, it's like all things, like when you do a laundry. I don't do a laundry until I've got critical mass. There's no point in me doing a laundry. Oh, it killed me when my friend got jelly on her jeans. She's like, I'm gonna go in the house, I'm gonna go wash them now. Like, you're gonna wash one pair of jeans and you're gonna use 20 gallons of water, whatever. You gotta be kidding me. So that struck me as, you know, wow, that's a terrible way. So I just wait until a critical mass. Same thing when I go to the transfer center to take the metal, that is all these random pieces of metal that I find, car parts and stuff gets busted, and I just like, okay, let me just put that in my pile. I wait until I have enough accumulation to justify the trip. So presumably you do that with your dishwashing. Presumably you guys,
Right.
I don't know, or do you do the opposite end, which is more of the, we're just gonna wash every dish we have because we do it habitually every night. So
No, I think, yeah.
you kind of wait until you have enough to justify the amount of water and
Yeah.
resources it will
Right.
use.
Although I've never looked at whether, like, what the settings, this is a fairly new dishwasher, and I realize
That's-
that probably, you know, we could do better, you know.
Like not having the drying function.
Right, right.
Turn that off so that you open the bin. Guess what? It heats your house really nice in the winter. It heats your house. You got nice moisture coming in from your dishwasher, and your dish is going to dry naturally.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, it was quite interesting that Steve mentioned to me, you realize we're the only people in our whole neighborhood who have a laundry line outside. Wait, really? And it's like, as I began thinking about it, everybody's using a dryer. Wow. But us, like wintertime, no, you need to hang your clothes up. I don't know if you, try this experiment. If you have one of those racks at home or something you can throw your wet clothes on after your last laundry, put it in the room where you sleep, close the doors at least a little bit, and see if you don't sleep better. It is incredible how that moisture, you know, in winter it's so dry, right? You just start getting lobster hands. Oh, yeah. You know, and so I put water on my radiators. I take old pans that aren't that great. I don't love them, I don't hate them, but they're just pans that can take water. The radiator can put a lot of water into the air. And sleeping with the wet laundry, man, in your room, it is incredible. I sleep like a baby under that circumstance. I know it's really weird, but it's very effective. It's very effective. So give it a try, excuse me. Okay, so that was a good example of like moving on that scale. So this is the general concept, is just thinking in terms of, okay, what's this habit I have? Oh, I bought 3 of those. I really didn't need 3 of them. Okay, what could I do a little better? Maybe I buy 1 of them instead of 3, say, whatever. And you're moving up the scale, you're trying to move in that direction, and you're thinking about, like I say, when you're doing your purchases and such, you're making a deliberate decision to, instead of buying, God, I hate these things, these packages that have this, what's the name of these things? What's the name of this type of wrap? This,
No.
Oil wrap.
yes, this stuff is horrible. Can't do anything with it. Very difficult to find a reuse for this kind of thing. This one's a hard one because these are very shallow, you know, to cover an ant when you're a little kid. You want to cover the ant, study it. Yeah, you could use it that way. I mean, not easy. And so the cardboard box, yeah, that's good, but then this unnecessary packaging versus this. Tons of these. You only need a couple of them. Maybe you put them in a little medicine bottle, right? And you just take a couple of them with you. Do they have to come in a foil wrap with a? No. Avoid. So you don't need to buy that. It's interesting because there was a company when we switched medication companies. This company sent me my medicine, which was like 20 little pills in a container this big. I wrote back to them and I said, I'm just continuing with you. I don't need my medicine to be in a container this big. This is pushing your luck. I even have to tell Safeway, hey, you pharmacists, you know what my monthly medicine, you know it takes this much space. Can you put it in the smallest container possible? I do not need to waste all this plastic, even though it's recyclable, but recyclable less. So then there's a woman on Free Cycle who says, I need 30 of these because I want to make a scent gallery for individuals with disabilities. So I'm going to put like cinnamon, I want to put some nutmeg, I want to have all these different spice. I love it when people make a call out like that. And so I have a little holding space in my house and I hold on to these very things, and sometimes I'll just put it as a listing on Free Cycle. I have 30 medicine bottles, who needs them for something? They need them for buttons, or they need them for a couple of gums, or whatever it may be. And it's delightful to have it be reused before it is recycled. That is the goal. So long version short, everybody. Getting better at the process, moving up the scale, discovering what you may be purchasing that you don't really need, changing your purchase a little bit to get the paper made from paper instead of from trees. That's exactly the goal. That's what we're shooting for. And then reuse in the home. I showed you several ways that you can reuse things. If you have any of these bins around, you might, because I don't know if you use any of these. What are these? Like these dumb little tablets, which are a set amount of soap. I'm not so thrilled about the set amount of soap every time. You probably don't need that much soap every time. It's okay. It's okay. It's not a perfect world. It's on the scale. But you're just always reusing materials if you possibly can. You're making your cat bags. You're assembling those. You've got your rags in the corner. You've got your scissors where you can use them easily. So I have a scissors in every room because I'm always needing to cut the lids off, and I like to be able to use the wrap again. Okay. Anything I missed here? Okay, so any other questions? Anything else? Okay. Well, I hope you found this interesting and educational. Oh, one last thing I want to mention. A little bit of an awful thing I want to mention. Does anybody know about this story? Anybody know the story about this turtle? Okay, so this is this horrible video of this turtle having a sea turtle in Costa Rica. It's on the National Geographic website. And it's a picture of this sea turtle with a straw stuck in its nose. And it is, I think I mentioned, 8 excruciating minutes of watching them try to get this straw out of this turtle's nose. This is the point of this exercise. Okay, why should you care about plastic? Why should you do anything about it? That's why. Okay, something I don't think anybody wants this. Even if you're not an animal lover, I'm guessing this is still registering for you as something you don't want any part of. So I gathered one last thing I want to say. I gathered a few statistics on the amount of plastic. So it was 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic that go into the ocean. 40% of those are single-use items. So 40% of those are things that got used one time and done. Your horrible single-use water bottles. Oh, there's a very upsetting picture of people in Ghana, and just the whole ocean washing onto the shore is just an ocean. It's just an ocean of water bottles. So that is the motive, is to reduce, and specifically reduce, plastic. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming. I hope you found this valuable. Yes, thank you so much.